that hot mess that they air in the mornings called The View had to issue not one, not two, not three, but 4 corrections, legal corrections, 4 legal notes. Imagine what they did at that debate, where once again, they tried to fact check only one side, and then when their fact checks got fact checked, they cowered. They cowered in fear. I mean, this is a pattern with them.
I think the problem with that show is that show has this very specific ideological bubble in which they operate in. You know, and they always bring on a token conservative woman and they yell over her and silence her. And, you know, they did that with Megyn McCain.
You may have thought The View controlled all the daytime drama, but guess again. Joe Rogan and Megyn Kelly just teamed up and delivered a hit so powerful it left The View's hosts scrambling for confidence. It was not a pretty sight at all. If you believe they were untouchable, get ready for a serious wake-up call. Stick around as we break down how these two absolutely crushed the so-called queens of daytime TV. Trust me, you won't want to miss this.
Nothing
Just
there.
go for it. Yeah,
there's nothing there. Sometimes comics do that.
Yeah, and the other question is then, is that representative of a big constituency? I think probably yes.
Well, a lot of
MSNBC
people,
viewers are probably also thinking,
I don't even think the MSNBC viewers. I think they're a little bit more sophisticated than that.
Yeah.
This is like low information, blue no matter who, like older housewives who are mad at the world. That's the appeal that Whoopi Goldberg has.
It starts off with the usual circus. The View in full meltdown mode. 5 grown women yelling over each other like a chaotic party that went completely off the rails. Joy Behar is halfway through her 15th moral panic of the morning. Whoopi looks like she's secretly solving math problems on a napkin. And Sunny Hostin seems to be arguing with the laws of physics themselves. Nobody listens. Everyone interrupts. And the audience cheers whenever someone randomly drops words like empowerment or democracy. If chaos ever had its own daytime slot, this would be it.
Donald Trump will be sworn in as the 47th president of the United States, yay, on January 20th of this month. Not everyone's happy about it, and many people would like us to be more focused on the insurrection that he personally unleashed. If you ask them, as we discussed earlier, they think it's as bad as like the Holocaust, and you don't have to take my word for it. Here is Sunny Hostin.
January 6th was an atrocity. It was one of the worst moments in American history. And when you think about the worst moments in American history, you know, like World War II, things that happened, you know, like the Holocaust, chattel slavery.
Yeah, the January 6th is right up there next to the Holocaust.
Somewhere in all that noise, someone tries to form a real thought, but it's instantly swallowed by crosstalk, exaggerated gasps, and a perfectly timed side-eye from Ana Navarro sharp enough to curdle milk. It isn't a debate, and it's not even a conversation. It's group therapy disguised as television sprinkled with pure delusion. It's a polished echo chamber lit by studio lights, and you can practically feel the smugness drifting off the screen like a scented air freshener of self-righteousness.
In fairness, though, I mean, The View has to be, you know, if you average out The View hosts, among the dumbest people on television. And so it's like they say the thing that people are thinking, but they say it very directly, so they expose whatever truth. But
I don't think some of them are dumb.
You don't think so?
No, I don't think Sunny Hostin.
You think it's deliberate?
I think she's ideologically driven, and they have blinders on, for sure. I don't think Sunny's dumb. But Whoopi is certainly not the brightest person. And what she just said just doesn't make any sense. It's just like so silly to say. It's not a well thought out. It's like if you had an idea for a premise and you like it was totally baked, half baked, and you went on stage with it. It's not.
Joe Rogan, the human lie detector with a podcast, steps in not by shouting, but with that calm, I've been hit in the head enough times to see through nonsense kind of energy. This is the man who has interviewed astronauts, monks, and even people convinced that lizard creatures run the planet. And yet even he looks at The View and says, I can't believe this is real.
They're disgusting. She's Anna Navarro, in your wildest imagination, you could never solo host a show. You will only ever make it as part of an ensemble, and you could never hope to achieve the success that Tucker Carlson has. So you can sit in your little cheap seats all day long and enjoy your little negative henpecking, but your careers are going nowhere, and Tucker is about to dominate in whatever space he goes.
Then Megyn Kelly steps in, heels clicking like a media assassin, ready for action. The one mainstream news couldn't handle, with Fox deciding she was too sharp and NBC realizing she actually asked follow-up questions, causing both to back out like nervous amateurs. Now she's armed with a mic, receipts, and a daytime TV hypocrisy list that reads like a hit file. And she doesn't just criticize, she slices egos with surgical precision and hangs them on her podcast wall like intellectual trophies. Together, Rogan and Kelly become a tag team powerful enough to make any PR firm panic. And while Joy Behar is busy searching how to spell authoritarian, Rogan calmly dismantles their entire argument by pointing out they barely research what they're yelling about, laughing in that "I can't believe these people have airtime" way that instantly turns their performance into an amateur improv session at a yoga retreat. Meanwhile, Megyn Kelly cuts through their contradictions like she's walking through a museum of media disasters, lifting one eyebrow and dropping The View's credibility by 20 points. Where Rogan acts as the sledgehammer of obvious logic, Megyn becomes the scalpel slicing through pretense, tone-deaf outrage. And whatever Anna Navarro claims is a coherent take. And even one moment of her commentary has Whoopi Goldberg blinking like she's sending Morse code to Barbara Walters' ghost.
That hot mess that they air in the mornings, called The View, had to issue not one, not two, not three, but 4 corrections, legal corrections. 4 legal notes. We only have 3 of them on camera, but look at this.
I have another legal note. Both Trump and Pam Bondi have denied allegations of a quid pro quo. I have a legal note.
You want to take this one, Joy, or you?
Matt Gaetz has long denied all allegations and has not been charged with any crime.
That's true.
Also, another legal note, Pete Hegseth's lawyer said he paid the woman in 2023 to head off the threat of a baseless lawsuit. He has denied any wrongdoing.
Imagine what they did at that debate, where once again, they tried to fact check only one side, and then when their fact checks got fact checked, they cowered. They cowered in fear. I mean, this is a pattern.
The View thought they were untouchable, floating for years in a protected media bubble, where the only real requirement for airtime was remembering the Clinton era and pretending to hold moral superiority. But that bubble burst fast once Rogan and Kelly stepped in with zero need for approval from legacy media to call out nonsense. They don't care about Emmy trophies or polite applause from brunch crowds. They care about truth, or at least not acting like volume equals virtue. So when they arrived with facts, logic, and a big dose of irony, The View never stood a chance. It was like showing up to a fencing match with a kazoo. Rogan and Kelly didn't just grab the remote. They reset the entire show. And then came the spark, the moment The View lit the match on a gasoline-soaked stage, entering a rare level of chaos for a show that treats facts like optional salad toppings. Their target this time was Robert F. Kennedy Jr., and they mocked him, dismissed his ideas without even a 5-second search, and rolled their eyes like someone asked them to explain basic civics, showing a level of coordinated disdain that was Olympic in precision, yet completely empty of substance.
Interesting, because I think Sunny's very intelligent, but she's ideologically captured.
Right.
You know, it's sort of, I think the other ones, there's a couple of the other ones, don't have to name any names, who are just very dull-minded. But I think Sunny's not one of them. I think she's smart, but captured.
Sure, I think she came into it with an agenda.
Of course.
You know,
they do everything with an agenda.
They do everything with an agenda. They didn't stop there. Not even close. They tossed free speech straight into the fire, acting like any controversial opinion is a crime if it doesn't match their studio-approved brunch worldview, claiming that podcast hosts are dangerous, misleading, and somehow literal threats to democracy because they let guests finish a sentence. Then Joe Rogan delivered a full roast without raising his voice, offering that slow, steady logic mixed with a raised eyebrow that slices through nonsense, carving up their segment like a Sunday brisket, calm, sharp, and devastating. He pointed out the obvious. These hosts aren't watching the content they criticize. They're not checking facts, and they're not even interested. Serving up performative outrage coated in cheap moral perfume, which he compared to someone loudly reviewing a movie they never watched while completely drunk. A description that perfectly fits The View's editorial routine. It's less about informing viewers and more about writing whatever narrative gets the loudest applause.
Melania Trump came out and said she's about as pro-choice as they come. And here was the reaction on The View.
I think she hates him.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Okay, so we can all
That's a
agree on
given.
that. That's a given. I also think that she wants to take him out. She does not want to be the first lady anymore.
They agree with you.
She doesn't want to be the first lady. She destroyed the Rose Garden. Who hates Christmas? Melania Trump hates Christmas. She doesn't want to decorate for Christmas. She doesn't want to.
She doesn't care about that.
She doesn't want to sleep in the same room with him. She can't tolerate him.
Would you look? This is a network that still runs out fact checks to these women, like it's concerned about them staying factual. She hates Trump. She doesn't want to be near him. She doesn't want to be president again. She destroyed the Rose Garden, and she hates Christmas. That is what passes for news on a network they did a presidential debate.
He didn't aim for cheap shots. He didn't have to. Rogan used their own sound bites, their own contradictions, and their own unintentional comedy routine to expose them, laying out quotes, timestamps, and facts like a seasoned prosecutor delivering closing arguments. His tone wasn't angry. It was the calm disappointment of a teacher catching an entire class copying from Wikipedia, mocking their laziness with surprising grace as he highlighted how they skim headlines, repeat Twitter takes, and act as if doing real research is some kind of crime. It wasn't rage, but pity wrapped in sharp sarcasm and tied with a ribbon of intellectual destruction. And while The View kept shouting into the void, Rogan reminded everyone that truth doesn't need to be loud. It just needs to be correct. And right when the echoes of his slow-motion takedown began fading, Megyn Kelly stepped in with the verbal force of a tactical nuke, sharpening her voice instead of raising it as she dismantled their broadcast piece by piece like a lawyer board with grading a kindergarten assignment. If Rogan brought clarity, Megyn brought courtroom receipts and a blowtorch, diving in by pointing out how everything is offensive unless it comes from them, which is exactly the formula that keeps The View running. One moment they're panicking over someone saying men can't get pregnant, and the next they're laughing at political opponents like they're hosting a roast at a comedy club.
I have no hate for Joy Behar. If I saw her, I'd give her a hug. I'd probably say the same thing about me if I was her. You're worried about losing your job, and you're worried about podcasts taking over, and who's the source of news, and we said Donald Trump was Hitler, but half the country disagreed with us, and he won, and this is fucking great, and Joe Rogan believes in dragon.
According to Megyn, it's not really free speech unless it's filtered through a panel of daytime television privilege. And she saved her sharpest hits for Joy Behar and Sunny Hostin. Megyn held nothing back. Joy, the walking eye-roll emoji of the show, got torn apart for acting like the grand high priestess of progressivism while offering takes that would make any true feminist beg for earplugs. And Sunny, oh Sunny, Megyn sliced into her polished lawyer-turned-daytime diva attitude with precision. She tore through their fake moral superiority like a storm ripping through a warehouse full of hypocrisy, exposing how the show treats any dissenting opinion, especially from women, as betrayal, turning disagreement into a threat to sisterhood, making the round table feel more like an emotional hostage situation where the only safe answer is whatever Whoopi said 5 minutes earlier. But the roasting didn't stop at personalities. It got surgical once the facts came in. Because here's the twist. While The View survives on emotional half-takes, Joe Rogan and Megyn Kelly show up with actual research, referencing full transcripts, real context, and even reading past the headline like it's some kind of magic trick.
Did you see what Whoopi Goldberg said?
What'd she say?
Whoopi Goldberg said that Biden could arrest all the Republicans and put them in jail. You just need to see how unhinged this kind of thinking is. Well, you know what Joe Biden could do? Joe Biden, you have to see it because it's so
On TV,
crazy.
she said
on television.
You know, look at a scenario where the Supreme Court says, yes, he has all those rights. He is immune from everything.
Yeah.
You know what Joe Biden could do since he is presently president?
What?
He could
throw every Republican in jail.
Yeah.
They began matching The View's claims to actual events, and it got embarrassing fast. For example, The View labeled a certain podcast episode as dangerous, only for Megyn to play clips proving it was just a discussion about nutrition and cold plunges. Truly scandalous. And when Joy insisted Rogan was promoting hate, a quick 32-second fact check showed it was simply a military veteran talking about PTSD and meditation. The horror. Megyn didn't just call them out. She buried them under real context. While Joe, calm as ever, had already dismantled their entire worldview without even breaking a sweat. The contrast was brutal. Rogan and Kelly came across as thoughtful, researched, and nuanced, while The View continued to sneer at long-form podcasts, acting like 3-hour conversations are impossible for viewers who they assume prefer 10-second emotional bursts squeezed between ads for arthritis cream and debt relief. Megyn and Joe weren't just responding, they were exposing. And while The View hid behind applause signs and scripted righteousness, Rogan and Kelly held up mirrors, painfully honest, hilarious, and completely unforgiving. And right before The View dove headfirst into teaching a full masterclass on misinformation while presenting it as the truth.
I don't know. Hey, this is the most important part. This is right after she was saying, we are run by ABC News. You should trust us, not Joe Rogan, who believes in dragons. So she by saying we should trust them because they're double checked by ABC News, and then making the stupidest fucking statement. Like you didn't listen to what I said. Yeah. You didn't listen to what the wildlife biologist, and that's only a part of what he said.
Remember when they boldly declared certain claims as absolute science, only for that science to quietly disappear months later like it was sneaking out the back door? Or when they described political candidates as threats to democracy based on Facebook memes and Whoopi's half-remembered dinner chats? These weren't tiny slip-ups. They were full concerts of confident misinformation performed with total certainty. And we can't forget their greatest hits, like calling certain legal cases obvious wins based solely on whether they like the defendant's haircut, or the time they claimed Joe Rogan spread dangerous falsehoods, while misquoting him so badly that the entire internet practically cringed at once. All this while acting as if they've been officially crowned by the Council of Truth and Accuracy, which makes the contrast with Rogan and Kelly even sharper, because these two never pretend to know everything. Rogan constantly invites people he disagrees with, a concept so foreign to The View that it might as well need subtitles. And Megyn actually reads the real case files, not whatever someone's cousin reposted on Instagram. And when the receipts start piling up, cue the world's tiniest violins, because here comes the predictable victim parade. We're being silenced, cry the women who speak into cameras 5 days a week with nationwide syndication and millions of viewers watching. That's not censorship. That's dominating the airwaves while complaining about being ignored. Like Jeff Bezos whining about not getting enough chances to sell books. Joy Behar fumbles out a defense, so tone-deaf it might cause ringing in your ears. And Whoopi tries to deliver a deep philosophical take only to land somewhere between kids' clay art and a tired fortune cookie. Meanwhile, America watches with popcorn, wondering if daytime TV has officially jumped the shark or swallowed it live on air, leaving The View gasping for relevance in an era where Rogan calmly fact-checks between kettlebell swings and Megyn slices through smugness with lawyer-level precision. Because when your entire argument collapses under the weight of a UFC commentator and a former news anchor, it's not just your credibility that feels outdated. It might be your whole personality.